Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and it's the 25th of October, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So a core dev update here from Terrence today from Prylabs, basically tweeting out saying, besides withdrawals, 4844, censorship resistance, and client features / code health, one may argue beacon chain light client support is the next low-hanging fruit. And he links to a GitHub tracker here for light client server support that was started by Terrence here on the Prism, or I guess like the Prism GitHub repository. I've spoken about light clients a fair bit recently. It seems to be popping up again in terms of, I guess, like attention. It's been something that's been on the Ethereum roadmap for a very long time, actually. Probably since day one, it's been talked about. Even before the network launched, that concept of allowing anyone to be able to verify the integrity of the network or verify the validity of the network that they're talking to from something like a smartphone. So from a resource-constrained device. And by resource-constrained, I don't just mean like the data on your device or the storage capacity on the device, but also network capacity, because we all know that on mobile plans, like in much of the world, you can get access to data, but they don't give you much, right? Even in the developed world, they don't give you very much to work with, especially in the age of streaming things like 4K and things like that. Like you can eat through that data very, very quickly. And then when it comes to blockchains, I mean, trying to sync a full Ethereum node over 4G or 5G, for example, one, it would take a while. Two, you'd eat through all your data long before you got to the head of the chain. And three, kind of syncing a full node on a mobile device. I mean, these days it's probably doable, but it's still not something that we should expect users to be able to do, right? So that's where light clients come in, especially for mobile devices or lower powered devices. And I mean, that's just like the primary use case for it, but there's also, one of the primary use cases, being able to have a node on your phone, but the other one is being able to relay your transactions via a light client, via third-party RPCs, but running a light client so you don't have to trust these third-party RPCs, where you can check the data for yourself using your own light client, or check the state, I should say, for yourself using your own light client. So if light clients are something that you may have heard of and you haven't actually looked into yet, I would suggest looking into it, because it's definitely something that core developers are working on right now and have been working on for quite a while. There's something called the Portal Network, which you should Google as well, which has got to do with this. So Portal Network Ethereum should come up with some results for you. And this also falls into the work around the Verge and Vertical trees and stuff like that. It all basically blends together, but that's pretty important to look into as well if you haven't yet. But cool to see that Terrence is already thinking about other things other than the most popular stuff that we're all talking about. Obviously, withdrawals are being worked on and are coming soon. 4844, I mean, so much progress is being made on that right now. Censorship resistance, it seems that is all anyone can talk about. There's so much getting done across multiple different teams on that, not just core developer teams, but obviously teams like Flashbots, for example, are working on that sort of stuff with Suave, and just general client features and code health. These just kind of like the day-to-day operations of client teams, whether they be on the consensus layer side or the execution layer side. That's just part of their everyday work happening there. Now, I remember I mentioned last week that I believe this week the execution layer and consensus layer calls are back. I think it's this week. If not, it's probably next week. But once those kick off again, we'll be getting a much clearer picture about the timelines around these sorts of things and around what's going to actually go into the Shanghai update and upgrade and what won't, because it's still not finalized, the list of EIPs that are going in there. Obviously, the two most popular ones are withdrawals and 4844. I think, look, like I've said it before and I'll say it again, withdrawals are like the number one thing that needs to go in. Beacon chain withdrawals, I should say. The number one thing that needs to go into Shanghai, and I've seen no indication from core developers that won't be the case. 4844, we don't know if it's going to be ready for Shanghai. It probably can be. I'm optimistic about that, but we don't know. And we don't have a date for Shanghai. But I think the general consensus is that we want to do it in the first half of next year, ideally in Q1. I'm not really thinking it's going to happen in Q1. I would probably put money on early Q2, not late Q2, but early Q2. And it just depends, right? Because if they do want to do 4844, but it's going to take a bit longer to get that in, maybe we see this push out to late Q2, early Q3. But I don't know. I feel like if 4844 is going to take longer than we would like, just ship beacon chain withdrawals as a standalone fork. and then ship 4844 with a bunch of the other EIPs that want to be included as well. But you guys have heard my thoughts on that before. I'm not going to rehash it again here, but you can go check out this tracker from Terrence on GitHub here, which I'll link in the YouTube description below. All right, so snapcrackle.eth shared a update today that the layer 2 grants round is now open from the Ethereum ecosystem support program. So the Ethereum Foundation is seeking proposals for tools, analysis, research, and education on layer 2 rollups. And the details are in this link here, which you can check out. Of course, I'll link it in the YouTube description below. So the submission deadline is in 6 weeks, and Snapcrackle's DMs are open if you have questions. And you can also apply using this little button here on this website. So if you're a developer, or I mean, not even just a developer, if you're anyone that's interested in putting together something got to do with layer 2s and you want to get some funding for it, well, there is $750,000 in total available to the different ideas here. And there's a list of ideas that the Ethereum ecosystem support program have put together, but you can also surprise them with your own ideas. And as I said, the deadline is in 6 weeks, so December 5th, 2022. And, all the details are in this blog post here, which I'll link in the description below. So if this sounds like something that you want to do or you're interested in doing, you should definitely go check it out. All right, so the last 24 hours has been quite fun with regards to NFTs because everyone's been talking about Reddit NFTs. And Mihailo here from Polygon, of which Reddit NFTs are built on, so built on the Polygon POS chain, put out a little tweet here where he said, Reddit NFTs are an amazing example and a huge win for the whole Web3 ecosystem. There's 3 million wallets, 99% unique owners, only a few whales. It's a $100 million market cap, native Reddit community, organic, no crypto Twitter noise, no price pumping, things like that, and fast, affordable, and carbon neutral minting. And there's a bunch of useful links that Mihailo has linked here. So yeah, as I said, this has been something that everyone's been talking about over the last 24 hours, and I have a few of my own takes on this. So first take, which I think is funny, is that I think Reddit rebranded Reddit NFTs to Reddit Digital Collectibles, and all of a sudden, everyone fell in love with them on Reddit. And obviously, for those of you who have been paying attention, Reddit has been very, very, very anti-NFT for a while. And my thoughts on that generally were that I think Reddit and similar communities are against crypto and NFTs because they feel like they missed out, right? They feel like they watched all these people get rich or make money on these things, and they automatically go to being bitter about it and hating on that thing because they missed out on it. Well, you give Reddit people these collectible NFTs, collectible avatars, right? And all of a sudden, they have skin in the game. All of a sudden, they're bought in. All of a sudden, they're cheering on NFTs because they now have a way to profit from it, right? And it's just a simple incentives game at the end of the day. There is very few people who are actually ideologically opposed to digital collectibles, to NFTs. And what I find funny about the rebrand is that if people were buying, say, skins on Steam, for example, and those things were rebranded to be NFTs, would they automatically hate them because they're now called NFTs instead of digital collectibles, which really are the same thing when you really think about it? Obviously, NFTs differ a little bit because they're on a blockchain, but at the core of it, it's the same thing. It's a digital collectible, right? So when you think about it like that, is it really just a branding thing at the end of the day? I think so. I think branding, getting these people to have skin in the game, really does change their perception and their opinion of things. And as I said, there aren't very many people who are actually properly ideologically opposed to NFTs or to crypto in general. They just want to be able to profit from it, just like they feel like everyone else has. And the funny thing is that they feel like everyone else has profited from it, but if you go on crypto Twitter, especially over the last, 10 months, all of this year, everyone's been complaining about not making any money, especially in the NFT crowd. There's a lot of NFT projects that have gone down substantially from their highs, and a lot of people that bought in that are just underwater now. But then if you go to Reddit, it seems like people are just angry that these other people made money. I'm like, yeah, okay, not everyone made money. Some people did, but it's just funny when you look at it like that. You look at the two different communities of crypto Twitter and of Reddit, and then you look at the different tags that people have and the different feelings they have towards things. It doesn't really fit in with reality a lot of the time, right? But still, really, really cool to see that that Reddit is growing here in the NFT digital collectible community. These avatars are actually quite awesome. I hadn't had a look at it yet because I actually use the old Reddit interface. So I use a Chrome extension that automatically redirects all the Reddit links I go to old.reddit because I much prefer the old interface to the new one. The new one is just got too much going on, but I switched to the new one just to check out this sort of stuff happening here, and you can set your own avatar with these NFTs. You can buy and sell them on OpenSea, stuff like that, which I thought was really cool. I think that that's a really cool way to, I guess, get people involved with digital collectibles and get people involved with NFTs without them even knowing that they're getting involved with it. And you get given one for free, from what I could tell as well. You can mint one for free, which I thought was pretty cool. And then you can trade the rarer ones, obviously, and buy and sell them, and people will speculate on them. Now that crypto Twitter is on it, definitely there's going to be a lot of speculation there. But still, I think it was just like a cool example of what's possible here. And some of you may be wondering, isn't Arbitrum partnered with Reddit as well? They are, but for their community points thing, not for the NFTs. The NFT stuff is on the Polygon POS chain, and the community points is on Arbitrum. So Reddit seems to be pretty forward-looking with their, I guess, Web3 or crypto strategy. They're going for the various Ethereum scalability solutions that exist today, which I think is really, really cool. But yeah. Enough on that one. There's another thing about NFTs that I wanted to talk about, which was an update that Apple pushed through here. So Apple has updated their App Store review guidelines to prohibit NFT as a means to bypass Apple's in-app purchase mechanism. Apps may allow users to view their own NFTs, provided the NFT ownership does not unlock features or functionality within the app. What this means is basically Apple takes a cut from every in-app purchase, or every App Store purchase, which includes the in-app purchases, and that cut is 30%. And they've been sued over this cut. They've been taken to court many times over this. There have been a lot of questions around antitrust issues with this, and the fact that Apple basically has a duopoly with Google, and the fact that they take such a massive cut of revenue here seems very exploitive, but I'm not going to get into all that. What I want to get into is a deeper discussion here about this. So, as I said, Apple and Google have a duopoly here, and because of that, a duopoly over the mobile market, I should say, right? And because of that, it leads to a lot of perverse incentives. We have iOS, we have Android, and obviously Android, there's a lot of different flavors of it, right? Samsung has their own version of it. Google has their own with the Pixel devices, and there's a bunch of other brands out there. But when it comes to iOS, it's really just Apple, right? Like Apple makes the iPhone has iOS on it, and that's it. Right? iOS is not open source. It's not something that anyone else can use on their own devices. It's Apple. And Apple locks down that ecosystem as much as they can because they know the value is the ecosystem. And they're actually to the point where they won't share iMessage with Android because they know that people buy iPhones because of iMessage. And there is actually this meme that exists that people look down on other people because they don't have the blue colored bubble on the text message, because green is a normal text message in the Messages app on iOS, and blue is iMessage. So if you have blue, you get all the features of like being able to see when they're typing a message, being able to see when they've read a message, stuff like that, right? The enhanced messaging that we're all used to from other apps like Messenger and WhatsApp, things like that. But vanilla text message doesn't give you that, and that's what Android is stuck with because it doesn't have access to the iOS message app, right? And now Apple has done that on purpose, as I said, because they know that people will buy iPhones just to access iMessage. So because of that, that's one of those perverse incentives that I talk about there. I think Apple definitely does this a lot more than Google does with Android, because Android is inherently a lot more open than iOS is. And Apple, as I said, have been taken to court over this, and there's a bunch of issues around this. Now they're coming down and clamping down on NFTs because people were using NFTs to bypass that fee. So, for example, if you had an in-app purchase in your app where you could buy an NFT and that NFT ownership would prove to the app that you bought the premium version of that app, for example, that would bypass Apple's 30% cut that they would take from the normal in-app purchase that would go through the Apple system. Now, Apple's obviously banned that because that is bad for them. Like, that means that people can bypass that 30% take that they want to take on all those purchases, which, as I said, I think is bad for competition. It really is hard to fight against because Apple has such a tight noose around their own ecosystem, and you can't really do much around that. And Tim Sweeney here from Epic Games, who have been suing Apple over this, have sued Apple over this before, quote tweeted this and said, "To cryptocurrency enthusiasts, this means Apple is now adding a 30% tax on your so-called true ownership of digital goods. To cryptocurrency detractors, because this shows Apple's motivations are only money. For digital items, they support NFTs they tax, and ban NFTs they don't tax. I think tax is the wrong word here, to be honest, but that's another discussion. I'm not going to get bogged down in that. But what this also means is that because they're taking this 30% cut on NFTs, it makes NFT trading on iOS just cost prohibitive. Because imagine you buy an NFT or automatically you have to pay a 30% cut to Apple. Well, you're already down 30% on your investment, right? Because of the fact that is that if you go to resell that, well, I mean, there's actually a good example here. I'm not going to do the math in my head because someone replied and said a 30% tax on all trades of virtual goods means that unless it appreciates 40% or more between trades, every transaction drives its value to $0, with Apple devouring all the value. So if you buy a $1,000 skin, if you sell it at $1,000, you've lost $300, and Apple has made $600, yet no value made at all. So it really is extremely bad for the consumer, extremely good for Apple. This is not scalable. This doesn't work at all. It's very unworkable. So what does that mean for crypto more broadly? Well, it means we need to find ways around this sorts of stuff. There is something called Backpack, which is an app that was, I believe, building on Solana, but they also want to build on Ethereum, that has this concept of XNFTs, which are basically these things that allow you to have NFTs as apps on the different mobile devices, especially iOS, and you can save it to your home screen, for example, and you can basically use this without needing to go through the App Store. So it's basically like bookmarking on Chrome, for example, bookmarking a page to your home screen and being able to access it like that. The concept of XNFTs, I think, takes that to the next level. And I am not an expert on them, so I'm not going to bother trying to explain it like I'm five, but you can Google it to check more about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by this. This is just Apple being Apple. But again, because that duopoly exists, we need to break it somehow. And it's very hard to. I know, speaking of Solana, I know they tried to do Solana phone, but guys, like the reason why Apple and Google have a duopoly here is one, at the end of the day, operating systems have never been very open. I mean, you have two dominant operating systems in personal computing, right? You have Windows and you have Mac OS. You also have Linux on the server side, but hardly anyone uses Linux as a desktop, right? Like, I mean, okay, it's been the year of the Linux desktop every year since Linux existed, but Linux is very, very popular in backends, right, in servers. It's not very popular on desktops. Whereas Windows and Mac OS obviously dominate there. That's a duopoly that exists there. But that's simply because it's very hard to make an operating system that people actually want to use, right, and people can use. And things like that tend to centralize anyway over time, just based on a power law effect. And on top of that, what's even worse for mobile is that hardware is extremely hard to do at scale with mobile. And many, many companies have tried their hand at this and failed, right? Because in order to make it profitable to make mobile devices, you have to make a lot of them, right? You have to sell a lot of them to just break even, and then to turn a profit, it's even worse. And as I said before, you can only do this using Android. You can't do this using iOS. Apple will not allow you to do that. It's closed source. Only iPhones or Apple devices can run iOS, Mac OS, Watch OS, all those different things that they have. And that makes it even worse. As I said, at least with Windows, right? And even with Mac OS, you can run it on different hardware. You can't run iOS on different hardware. I mean, you can try. There's jailbroken versions and stuff like that, but it doesn't really work, right? Whereas Windows runs on all different types of hardware. Same with Linux. Mac OS can as well. I've seen people do these different kind of Mac OS on different hardware than an Apple product. But when it comes to iOS, it's definitely much more locked down, right? So yeah, that's my general thoughts on this sort of stuff. It's not going to be something that's easy to break. As I mentioned, Solana was doing their phone, but as I said, like it's very hard to do a phone for all the reasons I just outlined, and I don't think the Solana phone is going to succeed at all. It was basically a rebrand of another failed manufacturer of a phone company. So yeah, it's a very difficult issue. Not something that's going to get solved overnight. But yeah, we're going to definitely keep an eye on that and try our best to get around that. All right, so another tweet here from Jane, who also reported on the Apple stuff about Twitter. So apparently Twitter is working on a quote-unquote wallet prototype that supports crypto deposits and withdrawals. So it seems Twitter is taking their integrations with crypto to the next level. So for those of you who don't know, Right now, Twitter has integrations with NFTs, and you can basically put an NFT as your profile picture on Twitter, and you get a unique hexagon border around your profile picture. And they've also been working on, I guess, like a crypto wallet for a little while now, but apparently they're working on a full-blown wallet prototype that supports crypto deposits and withdrawals. Now, will they support swapping within that wallet? We'll have to see. And will they use a third-party service already to do that swapping? I mean, they would have to, because if they want to do on-chain swaps, maybe they use Metamask swap, for example. Maybe they use some other aggregator. Or maybe they make their own. Maybe Twitter gets into the decentralized aggregator space. I don't think they'd do that. Maybe I think they would just take advantage of what's already there. But it's a pretty big thing. If Twitter natively integrated a wallet into the service, into the app, I think it would bring in a lot more people. Just like how Reddit NFTs are bringing in a lot more people, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Bringing in people through different means, not just the same means that we're used to within crypto. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on this and let you guys know if there's any more updates around this. All right, so I put out a tweet just earlier today where I said, when you go to a new country as a tourist and everyone is trying to scam you because they know you're a tourist, that's what it's like for noobs in crypto. I've thought about this for quite a while now, and it just becomes truer and truer every new cycle that I go through. Like, and the reason why I think about this a lot is because whenever I look at someone who maybe newer to crypto and then they're getting involved with these, I don't know, other chains, other L1s, other projects that I look at and I'm like, okay, that's either a scam or it's just a really poorly thought out project. I look at that and I'm like, why does anyone even support this? And then really it's just newer people at the end of the day supporting this because they're getting scammed or they're getting grifted on or they're getting their attention stolen by these projects because these projects know how to work the crowd, so to speak. And a clear example of this is the cryptocurrency subreddit. I went to that subreddit today because I wanted to see if they were talking about Reddit NFTs, which of course they were. But I went through what was on there and I was like, what? Like it's so completely different to crypto Twitter that I'm used to. My crypto Twitter, my Twitter feed is just like a night and day difference between my Twitter feed and the Reddit cryptocurrency section. And I look at that and I'm like, so when people first get into crypto, what are they exposed to? Well, they're exposed to the cryptocurrency subreddit. It's one of the most popular, right? They're exposed to crypto YouTubers who, I know I'm one of them, but like most of them are literal just kind of dog shit, right? They're just the worst information you can get. But how does a new person to crypto know that, right? If no one's telling them that, then how are they going to know that? And the analogy that I used in my tweet was that when you go to a new country and you've got no idea what's going on, right? You have no bearings, you have no friends there, and you're in a cab, for example, and the cab driver takes a route around the city the long way just so they can charge you more. How are you going to know that, right? Like, unless you're paying attention, unless you're looking on your phone, you're not going to know that they're taking the long way around. You're not going to know that they're scamming you, right? And that's just a basic example. Same with things like if you go to a restaurant and they charge you for water, right? When they should just be giving you water for free, like tap water, not bottled water. I'm just talking pure tap water, and they're charging you for it, right? That's just another way that that they take advantage of tourists. And there's obviously the tourist traps of gift shops and stuff like that. But it's very akin to what happens in crypto when you're new. You've got no bearings. You have no idea what's going on. It's basically like entering a new country, and people are offering you these things, and they're taking advantage of you because they know that you're new to crypto. And I think everyone has to go through this as a first cycler. There's very rare where I'll come across a first cycler that actually understands all this from the get-go, because it's not something you can really teach. It's definitely something you have to experience yourself. Sometimes people are like in disbelief when I tell them about this. They're like, how do people fall for this stuff? Like, how are there so many scams? I'm like, because there's money involved, guys. Like, at the end of the day, people can become very convincing. I mean, if you have someone who's relatively charismatic and promises things and is no stranger to lying through their teeth and can do that confidently, well, you can fool a lot of people. And we don't just see this with crypto, we see this with politics all the time. There's a reason why a lot of politicians are very smooth talking, right? Then they can lie with confidence. They have that ability to do that, and they're very popular as well. And it's a form of populism too, right? That is definitely been creeping up more and more over the last few years in the world. But within crypto, populism is very, very prevalent, especially like as a classic example, Do Kwon from Terra. Do Kwon's the perfect archetype of what I'm talking about here. Someone who spoke confidently about Terra, shit on everyone else, had a loyal following behind him, had a cult-like following behind him, and all the noobs coming into crypto thought he was a god, thought he could do no wrong, thought he had all the answers. Well, obviously it turns out he didn't, right? It turns out it was the complete opposite of that. But no matter how many times I told people that or warned people about this, they either didn't believe me or they thought I was just being alarmist about it. And then we saw what happened, right? So I just think this is something that people need to keep in mind and need to keep top of mind, especially if you are newer. You can still easily fall into these things even if you've been around for a couple of years, because a lot of people in this industry can make projects sound like super appealing, make them sound like the best thing ever, make them sound like they're actually going to succeed and token's going to make you rich. But don't get caught up in that. Do your own research, as they say. Make sure that you're aware of your own biases and make sure you're aware of dissenting opinions on something. And don't just dismiss them, these dissenting opinions, especially if they're coming from people who are usually very honest. Don't just dismiss it outright. Listen to what they have to say, formulate your own views on that, your own arguments, your own for and against, and then go from there. All right, so Fire finally went live. I spoke about this obviously over the past couple of weeks, yes, but Fire, I guess like sister extension that you can use coupled with Metamask is finally live, and they went live with a really, really cool little game here. So if you go to the Fire website, which maybe I'll be able to load it up here. I already played the game on Sassel.eth, so I wonder if I'll be able to play it again. But if you go to the joinfire.xyz website and you've added it to Chrome, you add the extension to Chrome, you can go up to the top right here and click Mint the Fire NFT. So I already minted it, but basically what this is that there's 5 cards here, and each card has a image attached to it, an NFT attached to it, and when you click on it, right, when you click on one of these cards, it'll pop up. You can't see it on my screen, but it pops up with a normal Metamask transaction, and then on the left, it pops up with the Fire extension that basically shows what's happening. And the Metamask interface won't actually show me what I'm actually going to get. It just says mint, it tells me the gas fee that I'm going to spend, and that's it. Whereas Fire, and as I said, you can't see it on my screen, but what it's displaying in front of me is that it basically says, here's what's going to happen. The asset's out. You're going to use ETH to mint this thing, but the ETH is only going to be used for gas. There's no ETH. It's a free mint, right? The ETH is only used for gas. You're going to get assets in. And that asset in will be an NFT. And it actually shows me a picture of the NFT I'm going to get. Now, I clicked on the first card here, and the NFT I'm going to get is one that's, instead of Fire, it's got wrecked as the text, and it's got a poop emoji on it. So I can decline this transaction or reject this transaction, and then try my luck at another one until I get the Fire one. And how will I know that I've gotten the Fire NFT? Well, it shows me in the Fire extension. I thought this was just like a genius way to show the value prop of the Fire extension here. And honestly, guys, I think this is really, really cool. I think this is actually going to help a lot of people to avoid scams, to stay safe, to be able to see what they're actually doing and how they're actually interacting with the chain, instead of just having all this mumbo jumbo that MetaMask gives you. So yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, the Fire extension is safe. As I said, like always, I always use caution when installing new extensions and stuff like that, but it seems that a lot of people have installed it. A lot of people have used it. It seems safe, but I can't guarantee that it's safe. I think it's open source as well. I don't know if I've got the link handy here, but generally, you can see my wallet here connected, sassel.eth. But generally, yeah, always exercise caution around this. But yeah, it seems to be okay. Seems to be running really well, and I like the way they launched it. So yeah, you can go check out this. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. I'll link the tweet where it seems to have gone away. It's here. Yeah, I'll link the tweet in the YouTube description below for you to check out. All right, so Stani from Aave shared a ARC or an Aave request for comments for deploying Aave v3 on zkSync 2.0's testnet. So if you are involved in the Aave governance process, don't miss this. But basically, this was shared by Matter Labs, the team behind zkSync, to get Aave on zkSync 2.0, the 2.0 testnet, and zkSync 2.0 mainnet is launching very soon as well. So obviously, they want to get ahead of it here and get Aave on the zkSync 2.0 mainnet as soon as possible. So very cool to see this arc. Go check it out. I'll link it in the YouTube description. And finally here, we have Nonstack on Twitter sharing a bunch of resources about how to learn about Ethereum development for free. So if you're interested in becoming an Ethereum developer, well, these are some resources to check out, which are linked here by Nonstack. But I'll link these in the YouTube description below for you to check out for yourself. But I think that's going to be it for today. So thank everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.